Warning. Gory Storytime is a horror movie review show by a son and his dad who thought that letting his 5-year-old watch scary movies was acceptable. If you are offended by horror or talk about blood and gore by a child, or if you don't want horror movies from the 60s through today spoiled, then there is a remote stuck in your couch cushion next to potato chip crumbs. Use it. And of course, parental discretion is advised.
Why? You didn't use any.
Shut up and start the show.
Welcome to Gory Storytime. I'm your host, Jason.
I'm his co-host and his father, Craig, and this is the show where we love to review horror movies because I was a fan of horror movies since I was a kid, and I raised my kids right, so you've been watching them since...
So we're also really messed up?
Ironically, considering we're doing Killer Klowns from Outer Space, the first one, which we've mentioned before, but for people new to the show, what was the first horror movie I let you watch?
It, right?
Yeah. The made-for-TV one, so... Well, my thought was you wanted to watch something scary, but I was like, let's pick something that's not too gory, not too scary.
But not too...
Not a bunch of language or nudity or anything like that. And then see how you handle it. And then, within a few months, you were, watching Jason Voorhees and Freddy Krueger. But that's because you were okay with...
It and Jaws were close to each other. I remember that.
Yep. But I think it was definitely the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I slowly moved you up and up. But anyway.
Keep that countdown going, by the way. September 6th.
Yeah, we're going to be...
in Chapter 2.
We're going to be going and seeing that. It's almost 3 hours long.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Speaking of clowns, this week...
we're doing...
Killer Klowns from Outer Space.
This is, our third in our series of 4, hopefully, because we got to find another one that we're going to do. Haven't got any good suggestions.
Comedic horror movies that aren't over the top.
Yeah, but this one's
this one's closer to over the top.
Yeah,
but it's still not.
Well, the way I described this
house.
To Colin, I said it's kind of like Sharknado before Sharknado.
Oh yeah, it's. I mean, they know very well what they are.
But see, he hasn't seen this. He knew what that meant just from that description. He's like, I'm going to put that in the description on the website, because he's like, that made perfect sense.
Yes.
So the basic story is. There's clowns, they're
from
killers,
space.
And they're from outer space. I mean, that's pretty much the plot.
Killer clowns from outer space, huh?
But what we need to do for people that are confused by this concept, because it's, it's a high concept movie. Actually, high concept means it's a very basic, easy premise.
Oh, okay. So yes, this is a high concept movie.
It's kind of like Abraham Lincoln Vampire Killer. You get it.
Yeah, that explains the movie.
There's a new one, too, that we have to see. Maybe that'll be the next one. It's The Man Who Killed Hitler and Then the Bigfoot.
And Then the Bigfoot?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Right? So what happens in it? Did you hear the title?
Right.
But anyway.
Like that movie, John dies at the end. I wonder what happens and John dies at the end.
Anyway, for people that are confused by the title Killer Klowns from Outer Space, throw up that trailer.
Yeah, Colin.
It was a night like any other night. Then something happened.
You see that?
Something different.
It's no shooting star.
Why here? Why now? Why clowns? They've been knocking them dead all over the universe.
What are you gonna do? Knock my block off?
Soon they'll be doing it after you.
Come on, space.
Pizza?
Maybe it just went through the galaxy and stopped here for a bite to eat.
You don't need a police pal, you need a psychiatrist. They want to planes? They're messing with the wrong guy.
What are you in for?
Killer clowns from outer space. It's crazy.
All right.
So if that doesn't have you, I have
Nothing
no
more.
idea what could have
That
you
should be
interested.
enough where they'll know if they're interested or not. There's people that aren't into these cheesy kind of things, but I'll tell you what, it is what it is, good at what it is. You just be into that type of movie. But before we get into the behind the scenes to tell you how they made such an amazing film,
Yes, film.
it will eventually be on the greatest movies of all time list, I'm sure. The AFI top 100 list.
Oh yeah.
It should be there. Anyway, we have, fat in our pockets with commercials. You know how it is. Every week we bring you 2 commercials so that we can't do this for free.
No. Taking way too much time out of it to do this.
Yeah, and that's why we always get sponsors every week, but for some reason they never come back. Or McDonald's employees. That's Face Paint Tattoos, where we make sure you can't wipe that smile off your face.
I'm just picturing. You want to know how I got these scars?
Yeah.
And by Clowns Understandably Not Thrilled, a group of concerned clown professionals that are sick of all this anti-clown propaganda. From movies like It and 31 to music by Insane Clown Posse, and of course most of the Senate and Congress. At Clowns Understandably Not Thrilled, we hate these awful representations of our great occupation. To connect with Clowns Understandably Not Thrilled, go to www.cunt.org.
All right, now let's get into the meat and beef.
The meat and beef of the show.
For those who don't know, one time he meant to say the meat and potatoes, meaning, the crux of the show, and he slipped and said meat and beef, and he hasn't let it drop since. Anyway,
I will go first.
Yeah.
The scene in which a car is thrown out over a cliff was initially intended to be far more spectacular. The car was to fly over the cliff and crash down to the ground. Unfortunately, the sling rope snapped because effects crew members neglected to remove the stoppers from underneath the car's wheels. The result was what is seen in the final film. The car slowly tumbles over the edge and becomes caught on a tree.
The $2 million budget went primarily on production costs. The clowns and visual effects were created almost entirely by the filmmakers at very little cost.
Couldn't tell.
Yeah.
Though not a hit when it was in the theaters, the film, has since become a cult classic and made revenue in action figures, DVDs, and t-shirts.
There are interesting similarities between The Blob from 1958 and this movie. Both have a first victim who is an old geezer living in a cabin who has a dog, and both movies have a... Can you say geezers anymore in this woke era? Anyway. Because I give 0.5% of a shit about what's offensive. But anyway... And both movies have a decent cop named Dave who does not believe the young people, and a crabby older cop who seems to have a grudge against young citizens.
Yeah, that's great.
Read the next one.
Horrorcore rap group The Insane Clown Posse sampled dialogue from this film for The Staleness on their 2002 Joker's Card album, The Wraith Shangri-La.
That is true. An early version of the restaurant scene was shot showing the Chiodo brothers sitting at a table in the background as extras.
Michael S. Siegel and Peter Lucasi, the Terenzi brothers, were an established LA comedy duo prior to the movie. Among other appearances, they performed a comical ballet together.
Ballet.
Ballet.
It's
okay.
spelled with a T. That's how you spell ballet.
Whatever. Together in Cheeseball Presents.
Dude's 18. He can't read the word ballet.
I can't read.
John Vernon and Royal Dano both appeared in The Outlaw Josie Wales together.
The restaurant name, Big Top Burger, is a reference to this movie being about clowns.
Seriously? Did not know that. Spoilers. The next few have some spoilers. The giant king clown from the ending sequence was affectionately called Clownzilla by the Chiodo brothers and was actually played by one of them, Charles Chiodo.
The originally ended with Terenzi brothers as the survivors of the exploding spaceship, while Dave perished after killing the giant clown. To the film, and the driver was to be the character Joe Lombardo.
There you go.
For this prologue, there was also a scene shot where Joe and his date are kissing on a deserted dark road, and after his date rejects him, he angrily drives off alone, only to meet his demise with the clown. However, when it was decided to have an opening credit sequence be seen first, the kissing rejection scene ended up on the cutting room floor, and the car crash scene was placed at a later point in the film. With the driver not being Joe Lombardo, he ended up being the name of a dead person that Mike and Debbie discover wrapped up in a cotton candy cocoon in the final version.
When Dave leaves with Mike and Debbie to investigate the story about alien clowns, Mooney says to him, "Go ahead, Dave, make a dummy out of yourself, but you're not going to make a dummy out of me," which foreshadows what happens to him later in the film. And I said that
Very obviously. Obviously.
I mean, is it foreshadowing or is it
he
like...
might as well have said, listen closely to the next sentence I'm going to say, it's foreshadowing.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, and the people...
Oh, yes. The people on Rotten Tomatoes have this movie at a whopping rotten 59. Why did I say 48? That was weird.
Because you're wrong.
A rotten 59%.
And the critics have it at a whopping score that is not rotten, but certified fresh, 77%.
Which is weird because this is such the type of movie that critics would hate. They never do.
They didn't give a good
They don't give
rating to
reviews to-
Sharknadoes. They didn't give good ratings to
What I was going to say is horror movies and comedies usually get treated
and
fairly poorly. And this is definitely a low-budget horror comedy that, yeah, it's on a Killer Tomatoes, Sharknado-y kind of level.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, is there anything else you want to say about the movie before we get into the...
Definitely put it on your Buckets of Blood list if you haven't seen it.
Yeah, if you don't like movies that are intentionally bad... Weird, like, if you like Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, if you like Toxic Avenger, then this is the type of movie for you.
Oh, Toxic Avenger is so good.
If you don't like those things, you're gonna absolutely hate this.
Oh, yeah.
But I say be open-minded and really give it a shot. Anyway, so what was your favorite scene in this movie?
My favorite scene in this movie had to be not a specific scene,
okay,
but the idea of the popcorn.
Okay.
I love the popcorn because the first time I watched it, I was very much confused by why
they were shooting people with
popcorn. And then the popcorn were like little baby seedlings of themselves that would grow little plants that would eat you that were also clowns. So, good times.
Do-do-do-do-do.
Yes.
Do-do-do-do-do. Like little...
Yes.
Anyway, my favorite scene, they showed a little bit in the trailer, when the clown started doing the shadow puppets. Because they didn't even try to have the fingers move in a way that came close to matching.
No, he was just like...
And just the idea that, like, this whole group of people was supposed to be completely enthralled
Buy it.
by someone doing shadow puppets.
Movie was when I first saw it and saw the nasty thing that they held people in that was supposed to be cotton candy. I didn't want to eat cotton candy for months. I was like, oh, that's disgusting.
Just when you thought it was safe to go to the carnival and
Yeah.
order cotton candy.
Yeah. So I pictured sack of person every time I saw someone eating cotton candy, and I was like, I'm good, thanks.
All right. My least favorite part is just the character of that older cop because he was so annoying.
Oh, the cop that we needed in this movie?
We did, but just I've always been irritated in every movie, and this was kind of parodying
All
that
of them?
character.
Right.
You know, every horror movie has that. They usually have the one guy that's like trying to warn people at the beginning, don't go to Camp Blood, and then everyone's like, we're not listening to you, old man, and then they get hacked up and they're like, we should have listened to the old man.
Right.
You know, well, then there's always the one that, like, no matter what, it's like...
What proof is given to him. He's like, who are you and what are you talking about?
Yeah, and he could look... And as he's getting phone calls from everybody in the town and
He's just
businesses
like,
in the
wow,
town,
they're
he's
really
like,
going all
they
out
got
with this.
all of these people involved in this? Yes, that's what happened. The entire
and then
town is...
a clown walks in and he's like, so, you're one of these clowns, huh? Doesn't even say anything, and he's like, well, you're fake, I'm arresting you.
How did that work out?
He got deaded.
Well, see, then there you go. All right, on a scale of 1 to 10, now realize,
Yes.
I try to make a scale for what type of movie it is. Now, compared to The Shining or something...
this movie is nothing compared to The Shining.
But...
That's not fair.
We're rating it on a scale of 1 to 10 for comedy, horror, low budget, meant to be schlocky movies. In that genre, on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you give it?
I mean, realistically, I'd probably give it an 8, except it was the first one that I saw that was like this and really got me into these kinds of movies, which bumps it up to a 9 for me.
All right. And again, on that same scale of for what it is, I'm going to probably give it an 8.5, 8.5 for me. It wasn't the first one I'd seen like that. I mean, I grew up, my brother Travis loved, they had what they called creature features.
Yeah.
And it was, you know, ants and
Frankenstein.
piranha.
Oh.
No.
Oh, yeah, never mind.
And it was like animal creatures, you know?
Oh, yeah.
It's like giant spiders and, you know, the birds was probably the most mainstream one.
Oh,
but
Alfred Hitchcock?
But these were just a bunch of like low budget movies that, you know, it's like ants got into radiation and now they're giant and crawling all over the town. Back to this one. So that's pretty much all I can say about it. You know, if you're not into
If you're not into that kind of comedy, why are you watching the show?
No, not really, but come on. But I would say, you know, if it seems like a kind of movie, if you like anything that was put out by, what's it called?
Wayans?
No. Would you not do whatever that was?
Well, they did the Haunted House movie. What?
Nothing?
Okay.
This isn't a parody.
Oh.
So why would I
had no idea what you were doing. Okay. You're saying?
Do you remember the name of the company that Toxic Avenger was put at?
Trauma. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I was trying to think of, and you're like going way wrong. If you like the stuff that Trauma puts out, which I do, Cannibal the Musical we've done on the show.
Oh, that was a great movie.
You know, then this is definitely the type of movie for you. I guess that's it, other than, you know.
Yeah, so on this side of the screen, there's a bunch of stuff that you can read yourself. I'm lazy. No. You can watch this show on Fact TV Channel 8, Thursdays at 8:30 p.m. and Fridays at 7 p.m.
You can email us at juggalo... What? No, that's the...
That one.
Yeah, what is it? The
Gory
Storytime at yahoo.com. I
.com.
almost gave like a personal email. Oopsie.
Oh.
You can follow us on Twitter.
Yep.
I'm at Craig Jakes, all one word, all lowercase.
I'm at Jason T. Jakes, capital J, capital G, capital J.
You can watch this on Facebook. If you're watching this on Facebook, you can watch it on TV. If you're watching it on TV, you can watch it on Facebook.
If you're watching it on either of those, you can go to fact8.com and watch all of the back episodes that they have there.
Plus, there's some on YouTube that I've put
shows.
up there. You type in Juggalo Jakes and you'll find my page. And there's music videos and episodes of this and another show that I used to do with Don